golf, they call it moving day, the penultimate day of a tournament where everyone jostles for position. Well, the SA Cross Country Series couldn't be further removed from golf, but all the same, it was moving day at the Sun City 400 for round 5 of the 6-round championship. All the action is brought to you by Toyota, Ford and Total Exilium in association with the SACCS. The relentless march towards the end of the 2017 SACCS continued with the running of Round 5, the Sun City 400, which took place on the 15th and 16th of September. This event has been a firm favourite with the fans over the years, and 2017 was no different, despite the dry heat that settled over the Pilanesberg that weekend. As in the past, the DSP and Race HQ was based at the famous Sun City Resort. But whilst the rest found time to enjoy the Valley of Waves, the heat was on for the crews taking part in the race. Nearly 40 cars were entered in the national event, with 19 crews from the Northern Regions Championship joining the fray midway through the weekend. The heat was certainly apt at Sun City, as many of the crews were feeling plenty of pressure. Temperatures soared towards the 40s over the weekend. But even before the first car turned a wheel, there was plenty of heat in the other sense of the word. One only need to take a quick look at the championship standings to find the cause of all this pressure. The gaps at the top of most of the championships were near on immeasurable, coming out of round number 4, the Harry Smith 400. In the overall production standings, it was Toyota Gazoo Racing SA's Leroy Poulter that still topped the charts, but sadly the Joburg racer had to withdraw from the remainder of the 2017 season for health reasons. This left teammate Janelle de Villiers in a plum position. In Class T, however, no one was sitting pretty. Malalan Toyota's Johan Horn was the man at the top of the board, but he only had 7 points in hand over Ford NWM Puma Lubricants' Gareth Woolridge. He in turn led his brother Lance by the same margin, so 3 crews were vying for the title with just 14 points separating them. The boys in blue were acutely aware of the task at hand, as Lance Woolridge explains.
That's the way it looks. We got to finish for sure, but other than that, I want to win. I want to go into the last race. If Gareth comes second and I win, we tie. So flat out, I want a good result.
At the same time, Johan Horn had no doubt about his plan of attack and was hoping to stay ahead of the chasing pack.
Yeah, definitely the points are tight. I think it's going to be a hard race, this one. But yeah, we're ready. With the car's good. We've done some improvements on the brakes.
Class S saw Jannie Visser some 25 points ahead of David Huddy, but then the battle in Class S was about to heat up, thanks to Ronnie Graven and navigator Lohan Faber returning to the SACCS in their brand new Toyota Hilux. Even so, Visser was calm and collected going into Friday's qualifying race.
Ja, ons is dan voor in die kampioenskap. Ons plan is net om veilig klaar te maak en net die punte in die sak te kry.
In the special vehicle category, the battle for Class A supremacy was just as tight as that in Class T. King Price's Evan Hutchinson was in the lead, but Marius Fourie was just 9 points behind him. To make things even more interesting, Stefan van Pletsen in the Liv Lesotho Chenoweth was within sniffing distance of Fourie, so another 3-way battle at the top of the pile was about to ensue. Even so, the irrepressible Hutchison was confident before the start of the qualifying at Sun City.
Yeah, been here before. We know what we need to do, and that's what we need to go and keep it clean and have a good time trial. So give us a fighting chance for tomorrow.
And if you thought the 10-point gap in Class A was tight, spare a thought for Werner Kennedy and John Telford, who arrived at Sun City tied for the Class P Championship. And that with Nick Gosler a single point behind them, 2 points separating 3 crews and 400 dusty kilometers ahead of them to hash things out. So that's how things stacked up after 4 rounds of the 2017 SACCS, and there was clearly a lot to play for in Sun City. But as ever, the vibrant community of the SACCS is full of colour and surprises, new faces and new cars. One new car that certainly drew a lot of attention was the all-new Toyota Hilux of Toyota Gazoo Racing SA. The new machine, which conforms to Class FIA specs, sports a mid-mounted engine and revised geometry, as well as many tweaks under its skin. The car will be taking part in the 2018 running of the Dakar Rally in the hands of this man, Janelle de Villiers.
Well, yeah, we got the new Hilux here, so it's a bit of a test event for us, but we've done a couple of days of testing, and so far I must say it feels very good. There's always some sorting out to do with a new car, and it takes a while before you really have it on full performance.
Also making an appearance in the Class FIA field at the Sun City 400 was former SACCS regular Shamir Variawa. He was partnered by Zahir Boranya for the race, and the pair fielded a Class FIA Nissan Navara from Redline Motorsport.
A bit sudden. I reside overseas at the moment, and got here last week for my wife to give birth, and found out there's a Sun City race. So we tried to find a car, and eventually Terence had a brand new Nissan Navara available. We twisted his arm and we got the car. So we're here.
And talking of the Red Line Cruise, Terence Marsh again teamed up with a celebrity navigator for the race. This time it was the turn of radio personality Jacob Mashugwa. The news anchor from 94.7's Breakfast Express is a self-professed petrolhead, and he couldn't wait to get racing.
Couldn't have been in better hands. The fact that I've got confidence in Terence means I'm going to be okay.
Due to the layout of the area around Sun City, the cruise departed the DSP in a convoy as part of the ceremonial start, before heading out of town and into the bush for the actual race start. The qualifying race was run over a 40-kilometre loop, but despite the short, sharp charge through the Pilanesberg bush, there was plenty to talk about. So join us after the break as we tell you all about the qualifying race of the Sun City 400.
This week on Ignition GT, we drive the all-new and radically different Subaru XV.
And I mean, the ride, you talk about ride height, it's such a nice car to drive. It really is lovely on the road.
Nissan gives the trusty Micra a new lease of life. We meet BMW design boss Adrian van Hooijdonk.
BMW i brand is sort of our incubator for all things new technologies and also new design elements. This show car is actually previewing a vehicle that we are working quite hard on.
Tumelo heads off-road in the Mahindra XUV 500, and we compare premium hatchbacks in shootout.
What I like about the A3 is that it's solid, refined, and even though it is a conservative looker, you know that's going to help when it comes to sell the car.
That's Ignition GT this week, only on DSTV channel 189.
Welcome back to the Sun City 400, round 5 of the 6-round 2017 SACCS. The race was run in the northwest province of South Africa, and the weather could only be described as scorching over that weekend. Sun City is just shy of 2 hours from Johannesburg and Pretoria, and so large numbers of fans made the short trek out to the Pilanesberg area to see the action. The qualifying route was only 40 kilometers in length and saw the crew start roughly 30 k's to the west of Sun City on tracks that offered a mixture of surfaces and plenty of obstacles to catch out unwary drivers, as Ford's Gareth Woolridge explains.
A lot of maize, empty maize fields that have been ploughed, a couple of rocks, thorn trees, it's got a bit of everything. So it can be very tricky, and it can catch you out. Last year we had a puncher, so it definitely, you'll have to have your wits about you.
But then the time for talk was over. With helmets donned and gloves on, the drivers and navigators lined up their steeds for the start of the Sun City 400. With a short 40-kilometer sprint ahead of them, let's see how the action panned out in the production categories first. The crews in Class S were first off, which meant they had to find their way in the virgin terrain of the race. This certainly didn't help Heini Stamfer and Henry Hugo in their 4x4 Megaworld Toyota Hilux. The pair missed the turn midway through the qualifier and dumped a ton of time as a result. They were only the second crew to start the race, but their mishap put them behind the opening crew of Jannie Visser and son Chris, also in a Toyota Hilux. The championship leader also had to feel his way around the route, but still managed the third fastest qualifying time. Ahead of the Vissers, Ronnie Graven with navigator Lohan Faber put their Toyota Hilux through its paces. They went second fastest, despite having sat out the first 4 races of the season. And the fastest crew in Class S? Well, that honour went to Archie Rutherford and stand-in navigator Gary Berthold in yet another Toyota Hilux. It was Rutherford's best qualifying performance in quite some time, and the big man had plenty to be happy about. Over in Class T, there was one hell of a battle on the cards. Just about the entire field was gunning for qualifying glory, though most of the attention was around the 3 crews vying for the championship. Remember, both Woolridges were out to set the fastest time in order to keep the rampant Horn brothers at bay. As it turned out though, the Ford NWM Puma Lubricants crew did very well indeed, with Lance Woolridge and navigator Ward Huxtable drawing first blood. They went fastest in Class T, whilst teammates Henk Lottechan and Barry White posted the second fastest time.
But yeah, good product, clean. We had two wrong starts, one little moment, but car's here, car's fine, we'll go fight tomorrow.
Behind them came Chris Visser and Philip Hurselman in their Atlas Copco Toyota Hilux, with the Horn brothers in their Malalan Toyota Hilux managing only the 4th fastest time in Class T. Not the start that they would have wanted, but then only 21 seconds separated them from the lads at the front. Interestingly, Donna Voss and Cornel Berger, who entered their BMW X3 for the first time in ages, went 5th fastest, finishing just ahead of Gareth Woolridge and Boyd Dreyer in the 3rd of the Ford NWM Rangers. Defending champion Jason Fenter, partnered with navigator Vince van Alleman in their 4x4 Megaworld Toyota Hilux, hasn't had the season he had hoped for, and qualifying 7th fastest in Class T wasn't what the talented young man was aiming for. Brian Baragwanath and Leonard Kramer reported a clean, if cautious, run in their Team Pirelli Liqui Moly Ford Ranger, whilst Redline Motorsports' Luke Buerter and navigator Andre Vermeulen brought their Nissan Navara through the qualifying in 9th fastest for the Class Ts. Jacques Van Tonder and Mariska Launer rounded out the top 10 in their Class T Ford Ranger. It was a tour de force for Toyota in the qualifying of the Sun City 400, especially in Class FIA, where Toyota Gazoo Racing SA's Janelle de Villiers took the all-new Toyota Hilux out for its maiden race. The highly experienced de Villiers, partnered with navigator Dennis Murphy, went quickest of all in the qualifying, even though de Villiers was cautious in his assessment of the new vehicle.
Yeah, we had a reasonable prologue. We need to sort out some things on the suspension and some other small things on the car, but which is to be expected. It's a brand new car.
Next fastest was Mark Corbett and Rodney Burke in their Class FIA buggy, though de Villiers had put more than half a minute between himself and the next car in his class. Shamir Variawa and Zahir Borania posted the 3rd fastest time in their Redline Motorsport Nissan Navara, with teammates Terence Marsh, along with celebrity co-driver Jacob Mashugwa, going 4th fastest in Class FIA. So here's how the chips fell during quali. De Villiers and Murphy were top of the pops, with Woolridge and Huxtable in 2nd place. Lottechan and White were 3rd quickest in the overall standings, with Chris Visser and Phil Hurselman in 4th. The Horns came through just ahead of Voss and Berger, with 4x4 Megaworld's Jason Fenter and Vince van Alleman behind them. Woolridge and Dreyer were next, with Baragwanath and Kramer finishing 9th fastest, and Buerter and Vermeulen rounding out the top 10. Over in Class S, it was Rutherford who led from Graven, with Visser in 3rd. And so to the crews in the special vehicle categories. Remember, both Class A and Class P championships had 3 crews locked in tough battles for supremacy, so there was everything to fight for at Sun City. Things got off to a good start for Evan Hutchison and Donnie Stassen in the King Price Extreme Bat.
I think we won our class. We're 2nd overall behind Janelle, so happy with that. Yeah.
The pair posted the fastest time of all the specials, leaving championship hopefuls Stefan van Pletsen and Jaco Pieterse in the Lib Lesotho Chenoweth lagging nearly a minute behind. The Live Lesotho crew then pipped John Thompson and Marisa Matten in their Zarko Magnum by a scant 9 seconds. While the third of the championship contenders, Marius and Yulinda Fourie, brought their bat through in a fourth fastest time. Keith McEnatty and Ferdy Peterser were next fastest, just ahead of the 4x4 Mega World Porter of father and daughter pairing Kutsia and Sandra Labuskakny. The first of the two Masaji piloted cars was next fastest in the hands of Naeem Masaji and Rahan Boranya. They only just pipped the younger Masajis by 4 seconds, showing that age and guile is better than youth and innocence, but not by much. Class P was another championship that could swing in any of three directions, and Verna Kennedy along with Tina Spencer drew first blood in their Live Lesotho Ace Coach. Their lead over Nick Gosler and Andrew Massey in their Zarko Magnum was only 5 seconds, but better than nothing. John Telford and Victor Nsheki were third fastest in the Class P cars, but still within sniffing distance of the crews ahead of them. And that was the stories from qualifying. Here's confirmation then of Hutchison and Starsen's win in the Sun City 400 qualifier ahead of Van Pletsen and Peterser. Thompson and Zamatin were next fastest, with Fourie and Fourie taking fourth. McEnatty and Peterser rounded out the top 5. In Class P, it was Kennedy and Fenter who took the honours ahead of Gosler and Massey, with Telford and Nsheki rounding out the top 3. So with qualifying done and dusted, all eyes turned to the main race of the Sun City 400. A battle under the fierce spring sun that promised to settle a number of scores. Or if not, then at least set us up for a humdinger of a final round in October. So join us after the break as we take in all the racing action from the Saturday of the Sun City 400. Africa Racing. Keep an eye out for the next round of the Arrow Championship that was held in July at the incredible venue of Zanin for the Midas 200 Zanin Rally. 3 night stages and 5 daytime stages ending off with the tarmac stage in the town of Zanin. We had some incredible racing the whole way through the weekend, and watch out for all the action coming to you on Ignition Channel 189. Africa Racing. Welcome back to the Sun City 400, round 5 of the 6 rounds of the 2017 SACCS. With qualifying done and dusted, only one thing remained: to tackle the 360-odd remaining kilometres of the Sun City 400. This might not sound all that daunting, but bear in mind the scorching heat, the extreme terrain, and the status in most of the class championships. And it's clear that this would be no walk in the park. Let's start with the crews in the special vehicle categories. Having won the qualifying race, Evan Hutchison and Donnie Stassen were the odds-on favourites to win the Sun City 400 in their King Price Extreme Bat. But then their nearest championship competitors had them dialed in, and despite the King Price crew working hard during the race, it was not to be. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves just yet. Firstly, there were 3 retirements in the class, namely Verna Kennedy and Tina Spencer in the Class P Live Lesotho Ace Co, Naeem Masaji and Ryan Boranya in their Class A Striker, and the Labuskaknys in their 4x4 Mega World Porter. This then left 10 finishers in the category. In Class A, the younger Masajis finished just ahead of the King Price Extreme crew of Fissa Duplessis and Alvin Kutsia, who struggled in qualifying but made good during the main race. They were beaten on the day by John Thompson and Marisa Matten in their Zarko Magnum, as well as by Keith McEnatty and Ferdy Peterser, who recorded their best results in the 2017 season so far. And so on to the sharp end of the field. Third place went to the highly consistent pairing of Stefan Van Pletsen and Jaco Peterser in the Live Lesotho Chenoweth, keeping their 100% finish record well intact for the season. Since you already know that Hutchie didn't win in Sun City, it clearly leaves only one crew at the top of the standings, and that was Marius and Yulinda Fourie in their bat. The pair struggled with gearbox problems in qualifying, but came back with a vengeance to take the win by 2.5 minutes over the King Price crew. As a result then, Hutchinson will go into the final round with only 2 points in hand and a mountain to climb at the Atlas Copco Gold 400. But that's a story for another day. In Class P, only 3 cars made it to the finish of the tough Sun City route. Andrew McInerney and Tielo Mochabaleli placed third, with Nick Gosler and Andrew Massey finishing in second place, just an agonizing 15 seconds behind winners John Telford and Victor Nsheki in their Hellcat.
It was probably the most difficult victory we've had of the championship so far. It was extremely hot out there. The second loop I was just fading away, and I don't know how Victor kept me on the road going through that second loop, but it was really tough.
This means then that the Class P Championship also remains undecided until the final round of the season, though Telford now holds a small advantage. So here's confirmation of the Fouries win in Class A, with Hutchison and Starson in second and Van Pletsen along with Petersen in third. And in Class P, it was once again Telford and Nsheki from Gosler and Massey by a hair. McInerney and Mochabaleli were the last of the runners in third. Plenty of reason for the Fouries to celebrate, and celebrate they did. And the same for Telford and Nsheki, who are now within sniffing distance of winning their championship. Over in the production categories, the gloves came off the moment the flag dropped as crew after crew tackled the dry and dusty Sun City 400. But it wasn't plain sailing for everyone in Class T. The Motul BMW X3 of Wayne and Paul Laplitte failed to make it to the finish, as did the Toyota Hilux of Malcolm Koch and Peter van Wyk, racing in the Atlas Copco colours. But the biggest upset of the day was undoubtedly the demise of championship hopefuls Gareth Woolridge and Boyd Dreyer, who had to retire their Ford NWM Puma Lubricants Ranger after the gearbox let go.
Yeah, we were, I think, leading for majority of the first lap, and then unfortunately our input shaft and the gearbox let go, and that was it. The race was over.
With one of the title contenders out of the picture, all eyes turned towards the crews at the head of the field. But before we get there, let's take a look at the top 10 in reverse order. The final runner after a day in the office was 4x4 Mega World's Dion Venter and Jaco van Aert in their Toyota Hilux. They were pipped for 9th by Jacques Van Tonder and stand-in navigator Jean Moore, who stepped in midway through the day's racing. 8th place went to Atlas Copco's Chris Visser and Phil Hurselman, who showed exceptional pace during the day, but failed to turn that into points come the end. Redline Motorsports' Luke Buerta and Andre Vermeulen finished in 7th place. Not quite the form we've seen from them in the past, but certainly nothing to be ashamed of. 6th place went to Ford's Henk Ladegan and Barry White, who also showed good pace, but unfortunately lost a considerable amount of time after picking up a puncher on the first of the racing loops. As a result, they finished behind Brian Baragwanath and Leonard Creamer in their aging Ford Ranger. The former quad racer had clearly settled into his Class T world and drove a stonker of a race that saw him right at the thick of it after the first loop. The pair were pushing for a podium position when they suffered a late race puncher, dropping them down to 5th as a result.
We had a good day, no issues. We're pushing hard, not making mistakes, keeping the car on the road and trying to make up time wherever we could, late braking and doing all the special things.
Donna Voss and Cornell Berger dusted off their BMW X3 for a SACCS race and proved they had significant pace by claiming 4th place in Class T. 3rd place went to Lance Woolridge and Ward Huxtable in their Ford Ranger. Not quite the result they were hoping for after topping the charts in qualifying, but it keeps the title race alive, only just. And so to the top 2 spots, separated in Sun City by only 7 seconds. It was almost a photo finish if you consider that the race took 4 hours and 10 minutes to complete. But in the end, it was Johan and Werner Horn in the Malalan Toyota Hilux who did just enough to stay ahead.
I think the points are looking good, so not that much pressure for the last event.
This left the resurgent Jason Fenter and Vince van Alleman to question every part of their race. Every little overshoot, gearbox problem, small mistake, because in the end, they just needed 8 seconds to win the race, but it wasn't to be.
All was going good, and then we lost 4th and 5th, so it was a long straight with a hairpin on the end, and we were in 6th and carried a bit too much momentum, and while lying sideways we're trying to get back to 3rd, and it just went on its side, and we lost some time there today.
Class S only saw one retirement in the form of Richard Leek and Henry Cohn, leaving 5 crews to battle it out for the victory. Heini Stumfer and Henry Hugo pegged 5th place in their 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux after losing the bulk of their time in the first day that was qualifying. Championship leaders Jannie Visser and son Chris finished just off the podium in 4th, but still happy to have brought their Hilux home and bagged enough points to set them up nicely for the final race. David Huddy and Gerrit Skidder recorded a podium in their Nissan Navara, giving them something to smile about after earning only 10 points on the previous round. At the same time, Archie Rutherford and son Kent recorded their best finish of the season, or their only finish to be exact, by finishing in 2nd place at Sun City. This meant that the win went to Ronnie Graven and Lohan Faber in their new Toyota Hilux, despite having missed the first 4 rounds of the 2017 SACCS. The pair clearly had the bit between their teeth as they closed out all comers, and even problems in qualifying and a late race incident with a tree could not slow them down.
And I think we're competitive now, so I think for next year we're going to have a good run, I think.
At the sharp end of the field, the Class FIA crews were going about their business with meticulous precision, especially in the case of the Toyota Gazoo Racing SAs, Janelle de Villiers and Dennis Murphy. The pair were fielding the brand new Toyota Hilux, which proved pretty quick right out the box. Unfortunately, the crew had to open up the road after winning the qualifying race and struggled in the thick bush. They also suffered 2 punches towards the end of the race, but even so, took not only Class FIA honours, but also the overall win at Sun City. We go on board with the best crew in the country right now to show exactly how it's done, not only on the wheel, but also on the navigating.
We came here with a new car, we came here to test it, and we made changes in the middle of the race at service. There's still quite a bit of work to do on the new car, but the basics are right. We learned a lot of things today.
Behind them came Shamir Variawa and Zahir Baranya in the Redline Motorsport Nissan Navara, who did pretty well considering it was only a cameo performance. Johan van Staden and Mike Lawrenson brought their Renault Duster home in 3rd place, with Essa Aldasari and Rian Schreling in another Nissan Navara pegging 4th place. Things didn't quite go to plan for EWN's man in the hot seat with Terence Marsh. Jacob Mashugwa had a great time, however, despite failing to complete the Sun City 400. We'll let the radio man tell you himself, since that's what he does best.
But I'm happy, we're done. It was a grueling day. We did 400 Ks in total. I couldn't be happier. For the first time in my life, I finished a national race. But I'm happy to be here and happy to say I've done one. Sun City 400, I'm coming for you next year, and I'm getting that top 10. Boom!
We'll be ready for you, Jacob. Here's confirmation then of the winners in the production category, with the Horns taking top honours in the Class Ts, Graven and Faber wrapping up the shop in Class S, and de Villiers along with Murphy making it look easy in Class FIA. This victory not only secures the Class FIA Championship for de Villiers and Murphy, but also handed them the 2017 SAS title overall. Even so, there's still a lot to look forward to for the final round, as the Class T battle is still in the balance. And that's it for the 2017 Sun City 400, round 5 of the 2017 SACCS. Next up, it's the final round of the season, scheduled for the weekend of the 27th and 28th of October in the area around the Gauteng mining town of Glen Harvey, not far from Western area. So join us for the always popular Atlas Copco Gold 400, the final round of the season. All this spectacular dry and dusty action from the 2017 Sun City 400 was brought to you by Toyota, Ford and Total Exilium.